All right.
You can do a lot while you're driving down the interstate, Jeff.
Yeah, well, I'm in the lane by myself for the moment, so.
Oh, good.
So
All right.
I'm glad that everybody was able to make it to this meeting today. I'm just elated. The past employees are, they on fire. You guys have put a for sale sign on We Up, and that just broke everybody's heart. It broke their heart. They just was like, they didn't know what to do. And so coming into the chat, I think that's what's needed to be able to, rally the troops, to be able to do what's necessary to get WP where it needs to be. So we wanted to hear from you guys, kind of where you are right now, what you need, so that we as current employees, past employees, we're willing to lend whatever it is we need to keep our WEUP, reimagine it, and make it a voice for the Black community for many generations to come. Because that's what Mr. Batts taught us, and we are his students, and we are here to serve. So we want to know exactly what has to be done. Doctor flew into the market with me about 4 years ago. We met with Mr. Batts. The last thing he said was he wanted to know the future of WEUP. And so we just kind of want to see, kind of where you guys are and what you need from us to make things happen.
Gotcha. All right. Well, Tommy, you want me to start?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Tommy kind of put out a call to a mutual friend who runs the Media Sales Institute, Jeffrey and Dana Myers. And we go back many years. And basically it was just quite simple. Hey, we have a Heritage Black station in Huntsville. Tommy at the time was looking to sell because Mr. Batts' health was in decline at that time. And it was right in the midst of COVID. So, obtaining any kind of financing or anything substantial just to make it work, it was just difficult because of the nature where we're in. But, for me, Black radio is where it's at. I've been in Black radio most of my career, the majority of my career, although I started out selling in Memphis with WDIA, which is the first Black radio station in the country. So the long story short, we kind of came together and said, well, we can't buy it, but it was the management of the company at the time. And just to be, 100% transparent, it wasn't good. Things were on the decline. It had established, some substantial debt, and it just was being mismanaged. So we came in, and I was hoping Kelly would join us, because he accepted the call, but we can fill him in. We brought together a group of me, Kelly, with between the two of us, we have over 50 years of radio. And let me preface that urban radio experience, because it just works different for urban radio. We talk and we're more important to our communities than say general market radio is. And that's the one thing I learned working with WDIA. It's the voice of the community. If you wanted to find your news, or WVON in Chicago, that's the where I come from. So we start managing the station. I'm sorry, hang on. Hey, Tommy, are you able to forward the Zoom link to Kelly? He said he's not getting it.
Okay. Let me do that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And so we came in and we started just doing that, kind of pitching national business that that WEP wasn't getting, trying to get ingratiated into community and really manage the station. And what we have done over the past 5 years is basically keep the lights on, and just the debt has still been just a big drag on our net. It's substantial. So thus the where we are today with selling the land, to try to get Mr. Batts whole as best we can, because he's put a lot of time and money beyond what I'm sure him and Tommy wanted to do. me and my partners have put in personal money too to try to keep the legacy going. Because in no way, shape, or form do we want this to go away. We know the importance of WEP, the history of it, but we are faced with business being down since COVID, and just servicing debt. And that seems like it's always what we're doing is servicing the debt on the station. The plan is now after the sale, we're looking at some spaces to move into and reimagine it. We're going to have to do a reorganization under the new entity to eliminate, the part of the debt and then reinvest in it. The monies that are owed to us in service fees, we're waiving that. Some of the personal monies that we loan, we want to put that back into the new entity. But the bottom line is we just need funding. And so in any source of funding, grants, whatever, GoFundMe, however you want to call it, we need funding and investment. And we are seeking, out investors. Um, Hold on, this is Kelly. I think it's important. Let me see if I can try to send him a link.
I sent him the link.
All right.
Yep, I sent him the link.
Okay, can someone send me the link? He act like he ain't got it.
Doc, are you there?
All right. All right. So
Yes,
I just
I'm
texted
here.
it to him.
Okay.
So funding is what we need. We are still actively seeking out, investors because we do have a turnaround plan, and I'll share that with you.
Did you get it?
Is a turnaround plan?
Yeah, we did have a turnaround plan because of
Okay.
the types of business that we need to go after. And the other part of it is we can't do things the way we used to. Used to can call an advertiser, sell him a schedule, he buys a schedule, runs the schedule, pays his bill. But now, with the advent of social media,
It's
digital,
changed. The marketplace
it's changed. Yeah.
Right. And so how have you re-envisioned it for the change in the marketplace? Because investors buy visions and they, so you said you got a turnaround plan. And does the turnaround plan has a new vision for WEUP?
100%, because that's where we have to go. We know we can't do the traditional spots and dots. We got.
And what does that look like? Was WEUP currently working any of that plan right now? In the past 4 years that you've been there, have you implemented any of that?
We've tried, but we're limited again because of the debt. That's why we need to take care of the reorganization and the debt. We have not been able to move forward much because of the debt that had occurred prior to us coming in, and just the servicing of debt as we've moved along. Now, I will say we probably would have had to turn the lights off 4 years ago had we not come along. But all we are doing is every dollar we make goes out right now, and it usually goes out to keep servicing old bills. We're not creating a bunch of new expenses. We're always paying, but we got to pay the capital gain, the capex cost, the mortgage, the lights, the utilities, all that's not going to go away. But I'm talking about the old Nielsen debt, some FCC licenses that fell behind. There were a lot of things that just fell behind that we're still making payments on. We're still servicing. Kelly, have you joined us?
I'm here.
Okay. All right. So this is Kelly Scott. He's actually my boots on the ground general manager and has been for the past 5 years at WEUP. And he can kind of actually pick up. I don't know what you heard me saying. I was just kind of giving the history of what it is that we've been doing and kind of the vision. We talked about, getting into the digital age and getting into back into the community with and engaging people the way WEUP used to be. But Tamisha was asking, what are we doing now to execute that vision? And I was just explaining that, it's been difficult, it's been challenging because of the big anchor of debt around our neck.
Yeah,
So,
and then just to add to the conversation you guys were having earlier, phone keeps muting. I don't know why that keeps happening. But so there have been some things done that we invested in the radio station over the last 4 years, through, receipts and things that we were having at the time. SBA loan helped us invest in some. The major thing when I got there was the signal. The signal was the biggest problem when I got there. So most of the investments we made into the radio station have uh, been to improve the signal, the quality for the listeners in the city. And
can you tell me what the reach is now? Because I know we used to be bouncing off of transistors in and around the valley. So can you tell me what the reach is now since that investment occurred?
You went back on mute.
Oh, sorry. I think the perception of what the signal was initially is not particularly what people think, and what was true is not actually what it is. So the tower site is in Danville,
Right.
so it's called a rim shot in radio terms. So you're sending a signal around a mountain into a valley. So there's always going to be some challenges. There's only one transmitter and one tower that creates that reach that they had before, and it's the exact same now. It's just the quality is a lot better than it used to be when I got there. I can't speak to the quality before me, but when I got there, it was really bad. Now we've stabilized it. We've got some new equipment in there. We've done some things to stabilize the static and the radio. Just there's a lot of things with RF signal. Part of it is being on the grounds, right? Our actual towers are on the same grounds as a radio station, and that's a very, very, very it's an older solution. Case in point, because the Garrett started it back in the day, that was kind of how people did it, and it hasn't been upgraded since then. So the move to what Jeff is talking about, that just moving alone will give us a much better signal and coverage and quality of listener experience just by moving from that location to a building.
Okay. And is this one of Mr. Batt's other properties? Mr. Batts, is this one of the other properties that Mr. Batts already had in his portfolio?
No.
Okay. Okay, so Signal, can you tell me what the reimagining of WEUP looks like? And what do you see it being after debt is absolved, and what the future of WEUP as far as your turnaround plan?
What I see it being is some multi-use facility where we create some kind of event space where we can house at least 150 seats. That would give us the opportunity to use the relationships we have with the labels and the music folks to program that space over time, throughout the year, and basically create a place that we can do a bunch of different things, both on the nonprofit side and the for-profit side.
Okay.
So event space. Go ahead.
Event space with the use of record companies. You got Oakwood College right behind you. That's a musical genius. I've heard the Bats talk about anything there with leveraging other asset institutions within Huntsville as far as the vision plan is concerned.
I mean, that would be the plan, but again, I think until we build it, everybody has a perception. Not everybody. Let me say, there's a misconception in town, I think, about the quality of the radio station, how it actually performs, and some of those things. So I think until it actually moves and people see some movement with it, that's when we'll start to get more advertisers locally. Because I've talked to a bunch of people in town, I've had some on, had some off, and it and it's never really a conversation about if the radio station worked or didn't. It's more about, oh, well, at the time, the signal doesn't sound like this or whatever. And I think, even the listeners have been traumatized over time about, the product that was coming through the speaker from a period of time when the station started to deteriorate to some degree. So I think we have to change perceptions. We have to change the business model. I think the event facility will give us, core revenue that we can count on outside of advertising. So I think we have to build a business that could be sustainable outside of the radio station, and the radio station becomes gravy. The radio station we know can move people from place to place. We know that if we want to, program different events, whether it's concerts or meet and greets or music festivals or what have you, we can earn some money doing that. And then there are some strategic partners in town that I've kind of identified, but I still wanted to be on firm footing before we started reaching out to them, not knowing kind of how long we have after they've kind of been identified. Like Von Braun, they've been kind of going back and forth with me for the last year, for instance, about helping them program some of their empty spaces and maybe even partnering on some of their urban programming when they bring concerts to the Von Braun or Mars Music or what have you. So there's definitely partnerships potential out there. I think we just have to, just be on a little bit firmer footing to close a lot of those.
So from the sales team and the national rep firms, I mean, how does that look? How big is the sales team and from the national rep firm? Because I know Yvonne used to hold it down with the traffic and being able to bring in the money from the agencies. How does that look?
So we don't have a large sales team. And then,
when you say you don't have a large, what
large
is that?
sales team, I mean, it's me. It's a young lady named Hunter. Those are the two people on the sales team.
Okay.
And again, that's the harder part too, right? If you're asking people to come to work and come into a place, to attract talent that's really going to help us move the needle. Until we move, I don't know if that's going to happen either. Just because of where we're at and what we're asking people to do. I just don't know how sustainable that is in our current situation.
So the move would facilitate absolving the debt and give you a fresh start?
Well, the move is a part, like the debt, the move would help us to earn more revenue, which could help pay down the debt. In conjunction with whatever type of influx of cash we get. So the goal is to change the actual business structure slightly to create, some more revenue within the business. And then
but I'm sorry to cut you off, Kelly, but with that increased revenue, it's still, to answer your question, Tamisha, yes, we do need to reorganize the debt under some sort of chapter protection, because we don't want to create a new entity going in with and then just for transparency, it's about $1.6 million. I don't want to start.
I was looking for the number. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So let me give you the numbers so I can shock you into what we've been saddled with. And that we don't want to be saddled with that, trying to reorganize, trying to hire talented salespeople, because what Kelly is speaking to, you're right. To get somebody of talent to move the needle and ask them to do what we need to do, obviously we gotta guarantee some level of compensation. But in the meantime, while they're going out and they're building this business, that's what we have to do. When you talk about national sales, that we have tried to maintain a presence with Nielsen's and the Nielsen ratings, because WEUP shows up strong in the ratings. And that's all that CATS and the national rep firms they're looking at. They're looking at how do you rank in the market, and then that even that landscape has changed, because now you have junior buyers that don't dive deep into maybe the heritage or history or reach of a station, whereas they'll just look at a number on the sheet, make their buy, and keep it moving. So it's important for us, I think, is when we reorganize this, is try to get back on that rating system as the national buys. And let's face it, like I'm in Atlanta, when Disney wants to put out a national buy for a movie, they'll buy their top markets. Huntsville is a secondary market, and if there's any, they're not going to place. I'll give you a good example from Mufasa. When Disney put that out, well, I got a $15,000 buy in Atlanta for a week for Mufasa.
I used to work at B103. I'm very
so
number
right.
one in the market at that point. I don't
Yeah,
know
but
where they are now, but
not now.
right.
But
You
I mean,
managing number one, right?
keeping it real though, they gonna always be a player. They gonna always be, up at the top. So if they're not number one this book, they'll be back number one next book,
What
and
what market
vice versa.
is and what market is Huntsville now? Because I remember when I was there, we were, I think, 132. Where is
It's like
Huntsville? I know it's now the second largest city in Alabama.
so it's like 101, 99, something like that. If
Okay.
memory serves me.
I think when we just last left Nielsen, I think it was 98.
Okay, so it's
98.
moved about 40 markets up since the last time. And I think with gentrification is going to continue to move
Correct.
into, secondary markets. So in the revisioning plan, I think that we need to take that into accountability. And I just want to say that we didn't even introduce ourselves. Doctor, can you tell them real quick, you've been listening. Can you tell them real quick who you are and kind of what you do? You're not off mute. I think you're off mute now.
Greetings, everyone.
Hello, hello.
Uh, Doctor here, Alanubia. Been a business consultant for over 30 years. My P&L experience exceeds 100 million. I've had 5 colleges as clients at the cabinet level. At the end of the day, my goal is to offer value in 2 ways: to show an organization how you can decrease the cost of operations and increase market share. Typically, people think that you decrease the cost of operations by labor and materials, but the first place that you start to decrease the cost of operations is with the cost of capital, because money costs money. And what I notice is that a lot of times we can project our cash and our expenditures, but we don't have a tax strategy. And so we have to A, have a tax strategy, and B, we have to look at structured finance models to where we can use debt, equity, and other types of financial instruments. One of the things that we were able to do while we were there, I don't know if you saw the videos that Tamisha produced, but when we were there last time, we noticed that the radio station is in the highest economic magnet. I mean, you're in a tax credit zone, you're in the opportunity zone. And unless you know how to put together a structured finance package, those people, you're in the area where you don't have to look for money. You
Got it.
just, and a lot of times what happens is people don't realize is they get stuck on the money, and they fail to realize that the plan is more important than the money. So what you really want to do is you want to create a magnetic plan in such a way that the money being in the area that you're located, the way that tax credits and opportunity zones work, they're actually designed to attract higher wealth individuals. So for example, if I have a $20 million project, and that $20 million project qualifies for uh, uh, um, 20% on the tax credit, then 10% of 20 million is 2 million. Twice over is 4 million. And if I needed a cash flow infusion, I could syndicate the 4 million, which is to say, I could sell or transfer through a Form K or something. I can transfer the 4 million and I can short sell it at 3 million. You know, on the opportunity zone, we don't create a qualified value proposition in the opportunity zone. So at the end of the day, what we typically look at is we're looking to strong arm a deal 100% on debt, which means I want to structure a deal where I can go to the SBA, I can get a loan, and it can work. And a lot of times we don't study other business models. For example, Kathy Hughes. Kathy Hughes acquired. I have a background in mergers and acquisitions. I went to a small school called Wharton. I don't know if you might have heard of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know,
Yep. Alfred Liggins who went to Wharton.
yeah, and so when I sit back and I listen to our community talk, and I appreciate all of the passion and so on and so forth that goes with it. But at the end of the day, you really have 2 pure markets that you have to satisfy. You have the qualitative and the quantitative. The qualitative is those people who appreciate the history and the story and the value proposition that WEUP represents as an icon. But on the other hand, you have the underwriters that I call the bean counters that say that if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. And what you really have to do is kind of take a yin and yang approach, a conversion approach to being able to show the blend of the best of both worlds. So I do know, and I'd have to go back, and if I go on mute, if somebody puts the address to WPN, is I like to do show and tell so I could show you.
2609 Jordan Lane. I'll put it in right now.
Okay, so that's where I'm at right now. We have resources, but the thing is, between North Carolina, just give you an example, from Atlanta to Chicago, we don't have one black tax credit syndicator, okay, that I could find in the last 20 years, and that's on the accounting side and the legal side. And so if we don't have it, it's not that those laws and those rules and those opportunities are not available to us, is that we did not organize our business plan or our value proposition or our financial model. Because let's say I have 5 investment types. Well, each investment type is going to come with its own requirements. So at the end of the day, I'm doing a consolidated financial statement in a way, you know. And so I'd like to kind of do what I call a 3-year look back and a 10-year look forward. The reason why I say do a 10-year look forward is that if you use the SBA 504 loan as a benchmark, it tends to be a 10-year loan for recapitalization for OPEX and CAPEX. But if we're not looking at it from that perspective, I understand the need to have a recapitalization strategy, but I also understand the need to go from one line of revenue that's solely dependent on advertisement to having multiple lines of revenue, to where not only am I doing advertisement, not only am I doing analog, but I'm also maximizing digital. And if I can run those things in sequence and parallel and by phase, then that in itself is its own value proposition. So Tamisha, if you put it in the link,
It's in there.
I'm gonna grab that. Just out of curiosity, did you gentlemen see the piece Tamisha did on with Mr. Huntley Batch
I
entitled
saw it.
"The Future"?
I saw it.
You saw it? What about the other gentleman? Jeffrey, did you see it?
I have not seen it yet. I'll take a look at that tonight.
So why don't we do this?
It's been pieced out, Doctor. I don't know which part are you looking about, or
It's the one you did. It's only 2 minutes long. It's less than a
Oh,
minute long. It's called "The Future."
it's called, okay, because there's several of them that I did.
Yeah, but
the one that where he said he wanted
where
to
he yeah where he said,
okay.
and so
I was gonna release that in the chat after, and then
You
start a
were?
new chat with everyone once
Okay.
we got to them. But I'll send that to you, Jeffrey.
yes,
Okay.
please.
Because you had created some other vignettes before, Tamisha, right? Those are the
Right.
ones I saw.
Right.
That's right.
And the part of the campaign, I started the promotions department for Mr. Batts. He didn't have one when I got there. So I sat down and was like, so it was forward thinking is kind of where I am in the OTT world. I see WEUP as the new Hollywood of the United States of America. That's my vision. That's what I see. And so I'm here to assist whatever you guys need, and I can bring you all kinds of resources from North Carolina. And so, Doctor, did you look and see whether or not that was, because I thought we looked it up, but I didn't think it was in the opportunity zone. I can't hear you.
I'm pulling it up now. Just give me a second.
Okay.
I'll share the screen in just a moment, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
And then Jeffrey, if you can send me your number in the are you still driving?
I am. I
Okay.
told you I'm in Atlanta traffic.
Well, never mind. I'll send it to your email. Then no, we don't want you to take off the
Yeah, and I'm not in my by myself lane no more.
Okay.
But yeah, if you put it in, or if you want to put an email, my phone number is 770.
Okay, hold on. Hold on. I'm a little. Hold on. You get older, you gotta stop and think. Like, hold up, wait a minute.
Hey, you preaching to the converted.
You say 707
309
309
9174.
2174.
Is it 707 or 770?
It's 770.
Okay,
That's-
770. 770. Give it to me again.
770
Mm-hmm.
309
309
9174.
9174. And I just
Right.
hit the send button. You might see, you don't have to answer. Just you see me, you see that call popping up on you.
Yep.
That's me.
919.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay, I'll lock you in.
All right. Don't we just love technology?
It's beautiful, but now we got to get it to work for us.
Oh, we're about to.
Right.
You've
I
been
mean, we know
blessed.
that we know that.
With
Hey,
Doctor here.
I feel blessed already because I done took in what he said, and it's it's probably what we've been missing. Kelly, would you agree?
Well, Jeff, that's what I've been telling you. Kind of what I was saying, that a finance guy, like we need
Yeah.
somebody from a financial perspective to help us with
Well,
all the nuances.
100%. But how was we gonna pay for it?
Exactly.
The land
that's the
pays
point.
for it. The land pays for it. Doctor will
Well,
explain that to you.
yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing is, and with the greatest amount of respect to the profession in general, a controller and a controller and a CFO and a CPA is three different skill sets
Absolutely.
in my opinion.
I agree.
You know, and so
100% agree.
you have to have a almost a private equity slash venture capitalist mindset
Mhm. Yep.
because it allows you to see several dichotomies and then synthesize them into one value proposition. You know, because you have to create your plan in such a way that it resonates with the individual as well as the organization. You know, you see does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I
Mhm.
got you.
Okay, so I've still tried to share my screen, but whoever has the controls,
Yeah.
I
Hold
need
on,
you
let
to
me see.
give me the authority.
Okay, hold on. Let me.
And but look, brother, whoever's driving, don't try to do it while you're driving, sir.
I'm at a stoplight now.
Okay, we need you.
Yeah, especially in Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm at a stoplight. So there's a way for me to do this without the AI companion.
Now let me ask you this: in your in the re-envisioning plan, uh, did you do a comparative analysis? Do you have any benchmarking?
Against like competitors.
Yeah, competitive analysis. Who you benchmarking yourself against in the market?
Well, we only really have one true competitor, the Cumulus station.
HRP.
Yeah, yeah, right. So we're in a market where we could, with our formats and diversification of formats,
Mhm.
could own any particular format. With the right frequency and number of signals we got, we can do that.
Okay, and that's and that's another thing I want to share with you, the intellectual property in terms of owning the signal. Um, here in North Carolina, a long time ago, my father was one of the people at Shaw University, and they started a radio station. And one of the things that hurt me the most is that my father's gone on to be with the Lord, but what hurt me the most is the one of the things that they did is they sold the radio station,
Hmm.
and that was so hurtful. I
Yeah.
guess they just didn't have a vision. But the reason why I brought up Kathy Hughes in terms of benchmarking is a lot of times you don't necessarily want to benchmark your next competitor. You want to be able to look at the radio station 10 years from today and then benchmark those three radio stations, you know, because in
I
that
got you.
particular case, you leave yourself room to grow and you begin with the end in mind. So I can't create a competitive business plan if I begin with deficit thinking. I
Mhm.
have to kind of walk almost as though I'm walking in an anointing to say, in 10 years, this is what our number is going to be. Here are some best practices. Here's how other organizations handled the analog to digital transition. And here's how, in addition to ad revenue, that they were able to diversify the portfolio to where each department could stand on its own. So in that
Yeah.
particular case, you can have a centralized advertising group, but the advertising group, just like the yellow pages, if you remember them back in the day, the yellow pages people were just selling yellow pages, but then as things evolved, the same yellow page sales guy who was selling yellow pages then started selling yellow pages, then they started selling websites, then they started selling advertising. You see what I'm saying? And it just
Okay, you
basically
should be able
kind
to
of
share now.
morph that way. So let me
Yeah,
see what
share.
let me try it. Okay, there you go. I see it. Just a second. Okay, which one is it? Um,
So, so
I'm
doctor,
listening.
what you
Yes,
were
sir.
talking about, what you were just talking about, just so when benchmarking in that way,
Okay.
um, just because, for instance, like it's hard to forecast out what the next digital trend will be. For instance, like
Okay.
streaming now, right? So a decade from now, I don't know if a decade ago, if anybody saw video streaming being what it
Well,
is now, a
what?
decade ago. So I'm
Oh,
just asking how to do that.
okay. I'll
Okay, so
How do
can I
you
give
do
you an
it?
example?
go
Can
ahead,
I give you?
Tamisha.
Okay, so
Yeah.
my nephew, he attends Winston-Salem State University.
Hmm.
Winston-Salem State was the first Adobe first HBCU to put an Adobe Suite Studio in an
Hmm.
HBCU. So what you're
Hmm.
looking at with content creators and what you're looking at with Adobe is in order to keep their software the industry standard, they have already made sure that they are in a places of learning and education. So that's kind of what it looks like. You know what I'm saying? We already know that people are creating video is becoming like writing. So what if WUP could pull together satellites and put them into different communities, and that is the place where creators come as a hub, and they are our affiliates.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. But I was just saying, I guess I'm just thinking about forecasting out things to come when you might not know what's out there.
Well, here
You
Well,
you
could have
Doctor
a
go.
number.
does pulls up their financials, and he sees what they do because it's all public record.
Yeah,
I
but
got you.
let me address your concern. First of all, here in North Carolina, we my group we built a cellular tower. Everybody
Hmm.
told us we couldn't have our cell tower. Okay, in that location, we could build a data center. Okay, in
Hmm.
that location, we can build a multimedia contact center, which they
Hmm.
used to call a call center. Uh, in that location, we can build an audio video podcast center. You see what I'm
Got it.
saying? Now,
Yeah.
when you got to understand, my background is in telecommunications and energy. Okay,
Okay.
so what you understand in terms of the data side is that content is king, distribution is queen, and data is the crown jewel.
Correct.
Okay. So from this particular perspective, one of the things that I'm looking at here locally is to be able to have an intranet, extranet that has 1 terabyte symmetrical. 1 terabyte symmetrical means I can upload and download 1 terabyte per second.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Now,
Yeah.
when you have a business model like your typical telecommunications provider or CLEC, CLEC is a competitive local exchange carrier, as well as organizing what's called a CSP, which is a communication service provider, versus being an ISP, which is an internet service provider. When you take it from this particular approach, now you are looking at industry through the eyes of a utility. It's like you sell gas or you sell energy. You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah. I see what
so
you're saying.
when you look at it that way, now you can piggyback on signal running in parallel. So not only can I run analog, but I can run analog, I can run digital, I can run audio, I can run video. And so now I
Hmm.
went from 1 channel to 5 channels. You see
Yep.
what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
so I was able to walk that spot. I was in the basement. I mean, I walked up in the eagle's nest, and I've seen a lot of that thing. And so now the other question you have to ask is, in terms of grants. Now I've secured more than $10 million in grants. Okay, but that only represents 5% of the market. You have large there. You have rockets, rocket industry there. You have FBI there. You have all of these entities that are there.
Arsenal,
And so,
yeah, and the
right.
military, yeah.
So then that means that you have infrastructure. But now what the telecommunications company will not do is if I need a switch that costs $2 million, but you don't have the population to support it, the telecommunications company is not going to put a switch in that market. However, if you looking at it from your vantage point, which is to
I got
say,
you. I'll put
I
the switch
put the
in myself.
switch in the
I'll put the
market.
switch in myself. Mm,
Right. And now
I
I
got
got
you.
my switch, I got my router, I got my servers.
Yeah,
There are situations where Google
yeah.
and all of these hyperscalers are
I see
paying
where
$1
you're going.
million a month.
I see exactly where you're going.
And guess where they don't
Yep.
have diversity, equity, and inclusion?
That
Now, and not that to me, diversity, equity, inclusion is a figment of our imagination.
I agree. I
But
agree.
but what I'm simply saying is that unless you approach industry as being the owner of infrastructure, I
I
don't
got
just
you.
want to I don't just want to be the progenitor of a signal. You
I
understand
got
what I'm
you.
saying? I want to
Hmm.
be able
Honestly,
to create the signal. I
you want
want
to
to be able to
originate.
create the content. I want to
Mm.
originate and store and transport. Because now, let me give you 3 examples. We want to cut out Facebook Live. We want
Oh
to
yeah.
cut out
I see.
Instagram Live.
Everybody.
We want
I
to
see
cut
what you're
out
going.
YouTube Live.
I see where you're
We
going.
want to cut out StreamYard because you got to understand Facebook's financial model. Facebook uses spiders to encode and decode and encrypt. When you log into Facebook, you actually leave in the internet and you go into what's called an intranet
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
or an extranet. You see
Yep.
what I'm saying? So you think you on the internet, but you're not. So it's
Yeah.
like if you go outside your house, that's the internet. But as soon as you use your key and you came inside of your house, everything inside of your house is the extranet or the
Mm-hmm.
intranet. You
I
see what
got
I'm
you.
saying? And so your ability to control the environment from inside your house and then give the person the illusion that you are freely running around the internet is two totally different situations. You see what I mean? And so now it's a whole totally different value proposition because now
Correct.
what you're saying is I'm going to look at a publicly traded company like YouTube, a publicly traded company like Facebook, a publicly traded company like X. I'm going to study their Form 10K, which is if you run a public company, the 10K is the financial component of the financials. But how many of us look at Fortune 500, Fortune 100, and how many of us actually study the financials of the top 3 publicly traded radio broadcasting companies?
Just you, doctor. Just you.
So
Just you.
what we do as a people is we do what we do best. We pull the rhythm out of what works.
Mm-hmm.
And once you can identify the rhythm in what works, because unless you and I grab the rhythm out of the numbers and apply it to our own model, we're going to pay $1,000 an hour for another consultant to tell us what we already know.
Yeah, yeah. No, I feel you on that.
And so what we
And
haven't done is we haven't forensically looked at the accounting the
agreed.
same way that a musician would look at sheet music.
Agreed.
Okay, so we're gonna pull the financials of what we think it should be. Can you show us where WEUP lies?
Well, I'll tell you exactly what WEUP lies. The
You
first
got it
thing is,
pulled up, right? Don't you got
oh,
it pulled up?
I was trying to share my screen, but it didn't share my
Yeah, we
screen.
see it. We
We
see it.
see it. Yeah,
Oh,
we
you
see
can
it.
see it?
Yeah, we
Oh,
Yeah.
waiting on you to tell us where it's
oh,
at.
okay. Listen, I'm sorry. Hold on. Look,
Where is it?
listen, somebody should have told the
Yeah.
old doctor.
Well, I'm trying. I'm trying to get
Okay,
you
you can
along.
see you
Yeah,
see the
we can
screen,
see
right?
it. Where is it in the
Okay,
opportunity
hold on.
zone?
Well,
Let
it
us
is.
know.
You see this right here?
Yep.
That's WEUP. Okay, you see where this says you in a new market tax credit qualified, and you in the opportunity zone.
Oh,
Th- There is
the money right there.
you double dipping. There's no reason. Look over here. You see where this says qualified and then qualified distressed?
Yeah.
And then you see this right here where it says qualified opportunity zone.
Yep,
Yep.
we right
So
there.
now, so what I'm saying is if I'm super rich and I'm looking for a place to park my money,
WEP would be it.
you are the first place ahead of everybody. Let me explain to you why.
Okay.
Because it's not what you make, it's what you keep.
Mm-hmm.
See, if I already make money, And then Uncle Sam said, look, man, you owe $5 million in taxes. And I can invest in WEUP. And WEUP has $4 million in tax credits. And I say to WEUP, I'm going to give you $3 million in cash for $4 million in value. That's the one side. The other side is you in the qualified census tract, and Trump is getting ready to change the law, so he's getting ready to move it up. Because I think the qualified, I think it sunsets in 2027. But they're going to probably extend it for another 10 years because now is the perfect time for anybody who's doing real estate acquisitions or real estate transformation. You know, for
That
me,
means mixed use. Hold on. That
right,
means we can do a mixed use
right.
building and we can do some things
How much
on
land is
site.
there?
7 acres.
See what I'm saying? Let me tell you, I did 165,000 square feet of mixed use Class A development on 8 acres. I had a hotel permit, I had a bank permit, I had a medical and telecenter, and I had aquatics rehab. And phase one, core and shell, covered the building for the first, and then 3 external parcels. And we had, so what I'm saying is, in the location that you have with these scenarios is better than what we have. So the cat
Doc,
that's across the street, the car dealer,
you probably know
he's
about it.
okay. Well, they don't. But my point is, this is the thing. There's something called, I would call it forensic accounting, because your typical, with respect to your typical CPA, and let me be more specific, our black accountants and our black lawyers don't deal in this play space.
No, you're right.
Okay.
Doctor, let me ask you a question. Now,
Shoot.
I put the video in the chat. Can you play it? Because it's
Yeah,
Mr.
I can
Bass
play it.
talking to
I
you.
have
Okay.
I have a question, Doc. Before y'all play the
Sure.
video,
Oh,
I have a
shoot.
question for you, Doc.
Okay.
So, say after all of this, because it sounds like this is something that you've replicated before.
Oh,
What
yeah.
what kind of time frame are we talking about?
Okay. Well, that's a perfect question. The first thing you have to do is first identify the types of money that you want to go after. You understand what I'm saying? So, for example, let's just say that area is growing, and I heard you say you went from 130 to 98. Okay.
148.
The first place you start is the infrastructure. Okay. You don't know what your water infrastructure look like, your energy infrastructure look like. You don't know what your telecommunications infrastructure look like. You look for places to where if you structure finance, are you familiar with something called tax incremented financing?
No.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. We, as a general rule, we don't know economic law. And so because we don't know economic law, we cannot take advantage of the economic benefits associated with economic law because there's nobody in our circle who's ever done it.
And
And
can I say too, you also put together a time frame of 3 packages from 18 to 22 months.
yeah,
So
yeah,
before we looked at that, it was about an 18 to 22 month time frame
right,
where that assessment would be done so that we could reach out to investors. We
right,
would implement an equity crowdfund campaign.
right,
So we'd already looked at that in that
right,
time frame of 18 to 22 months.
right. And what you have to do is, again, what people do is they panic, and the worst thing you could do is worry about the money. Because a wealthy person can tell whether you're confident. So what you have to do is make sure that you have an excellent plan, and if you have a good plan, people will invest in it. You
So
can't
next part is how do we get the plan? Can we see the redirect plan that you
hold up,
currently
hold.
have?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So for me, excellent point, Tamisha. For me, I would say, okay, this is where you came from, this is where you are, and this is where you're going. I heard the 1.8 million dollars, in terms of where we are in the deficit. I understand the need to recapitalize. Okay. However, I need to understand not only where you are, where you came from, but where you're at, but where you're going. And so when we're benchmarking, if you say, look, Doc, how many square feet is that building? How many square feet is the building?
One that's currently there,
Yeah.
I believe. Don't get me to lie, total, but I think it's Tommy. You could probably. I think it on the It's 10,000 some odd square feet.
Okay, so here you go. Let's cut to the chase. You got that many acres. I'm going to say you have 100,000 square feet of space.
Correct.
Okay. Now, if you have 100,000 square feet of space, somebody multiply 100,000 square feet times $500 a square foot.
Oh, that
It's 50
math
million, ain't it? Is that 50 million?
Yeah,
Something
it's
like
50 million.
Okay, so now,
yeah, that math is easy.
so now watch this.
Hmm.
You can't be a boss and act like you're not a boss.
Yeah.
If I'm coming to get it, I'm coming. My conversation when I start doing public relations is we got a $50 million value proposition that we need you to take part of.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Because you
Because of
have
where
to,
it sits,
got
because of the
yeah,
land.
you
Because
have
of
to
where it sits.
prophesy, and then you got to walk in the prophecy. You know what I'm saying?
I
And if
got
you
you.
can't communicate with swag and you can't communicate with confidence, then you're not going to attract those people who have whatever it is that you're seeking. Because
No,
kings
I got
talk
you.
to kings. You see what I'm
No, I
saying?
got you on that. I got
Can
you on
you
So
that
play
for
the
sure.
video, doctor, so we can see what
I'm
Dr.
grabbing it.
Mr.
Yes,
Batts
ma'am.
wanted?
I'm got it right now. Hold on, give me a second.
Mr. Back once
Got
per
it.
intense.
Or the other side of that is you don't walk with swag. You have the sharks. You have the sharks coming at you.
Can
You're
you
right
see
about
it?
that. Blood in the water. No, we can't see it. You were sharing the screen before. Can you?
I can see it.
You can see it?
I just can't hear it. I can't hear it. I can see it. I can't hear it.
I can see it.
Hold
Yeah, I
up.
can't hear it.
I can.
Hold,
Wait, I must
you
be on the wrong screen. Hold on.
Oh, oh,
hold up.
hang-
You could see it, but you can't hear it.
Yeah, I can't
I
hear
saw
it.
Mr. Yeah, I saw Mr. Bat. Hey,
Okay.
See Mr. Scott sitting on the couch, but I
Okay.
can't.
Wait.
I couldn't.
Let me see. Well, I'm not the controller. Who does it on this side?
I relinquished all control, so I done made it to the house now, so I can safely do what I need to do.
So that means you
It's
could
a
take
YouTube video.
you could if you made it to the house, you could log in and you control the sound, sir.
Yes, sir.
You
Hang
the
on, let me
you the audio engineer.
hang up. Look, I can wear all hats.
You know, and so this is what I'm saying, y'all. If you have a short amount of time to raise money, the first thing you have to do is to make your thing magnetic. If I have money, I'm always looking for a tax shelter.
Got it.
And how
You
do we
understand
make
what
it
I'm saying?
magnetic? How do we make it magnetic?
Well, this is how you make it magnetic. First of all, I got to see the plan that you have.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Second, that's because it's like this. I'm a business doctor. As a
I
business
got
doctor, I'm gonna take two things that's very personal from you: a sample of your blood, which is your cash flow, and a
Mhm.
sample of your waste, which is your expenditures. And based on the blood of the business, whether you have it or not, you can say, look, right now our blood is anemic. And if your blood is anemic, then basically what you're saying is, look, brother, we need to add some iron to this equation.
you. Yep.
Because if we stay anemic for too long, the organs of the body are going to shut down. You see
Okay.
what I'm saying? And
What
That's
else?
so,
where we at.
What else we
That's
need,
where
Doc?
we're at. We're
That's
anemic.
exactly where we at.
What else you need, doctor?
well, I mean, the
Oh
first
yeah,
place,
I'm logging in here.
okay. I need the last 3 years of financials.
Yeah.
Okay. I would probably take the last 3 years of financials if you had the last 3 years of tax returns. Because let me give you another example. You guys ever heard of a company called BDO?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you realize about 95% of black businesses did not utilize their tax structure to take advantage of the COVID situation?
I believe that.
Yep.
Let me tell
Yeah.
you why. Let me tell you why. Because most folks buy that. I'm gonna call them people who have a small accounting firms. They buy QuickBooks or they buy Intuit, right? And they got a bunch
Mm-hmm.
of customers coming in, and they're giving you they're giving you the template and not the custom fit.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine now it's tax season, and if you could do so much taxes in a year that you could work 4 months, right? You ever notice how you go to a lot of these places, and by the time July comes, from July to
They close.
January, they
They
close?
close. They close.
That's because them CPAs done worked 80 hours a week from January to April the 15th. And then I guess this year it's going to be May the 1st.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So they made their money, so they're gonna take a break. But what
Yep.
happens is that you didn't get the custom fit. That's why I tell all my folks is look, with respect to the people who have a CPA, if they need to sell you the insurance, the audit insurance, it's only about $100. You see
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And so the difference you're gonna get is if I get my CPA to do 90% of the work, then I take what the CPA did to BDO, and I asked BDO to take and went through their department and relook at my numbers. With the greatest respect to my 1 or 2 member CPA firm,
Yeah.
BDO is going to be like, oh, you qualify for this, and this. So now, before you go into your recapitalization mode, ask yourself what your tax strategy was prior to dating what they got you here.
Well, let's and actually, Doctor, I done turned over you as the meeting host now, so you have full control. But
It's funny how that happens, Miss Tamisha Thomas.
you got full control. The floor is yours. But here's the thing. So Tommy we've entered into an agreement to sell the property. So how does that work? If we how does that work? Because
see,
that's where we are with
well,
in terms of
we can't go back and redo the past.
okay.
However, if we had the opportunity to be then and put what we thought we could have put in place then now, then
Right.
we wouldn't be having this conversation today, in my opinion.
It'd be
However,
we'd be having a conversation, but wouldn't be this one.
we'll be having a ring the New York Stock Exchange conversation, but the point is where we are now is this: it's triage. Okay,
Right.
when you have a situation before you operate,
I'm
the
sorry,
first
I don't
goal is
understand that. You're in contract right now to sell the station?
Yes.
Sell the land.
Yeah.
Sell the land.
Sell the
Yeah,
land.
but see,
Sell the land. Does that have to go through? Does that have to go through? Can you renege?
before I sold the land, if you have a separate LLC and it's separate and you have a separate from Mr. Batt's estate or whatever, I would bankrupt the situation and do a recast.
Reorganization.
The last, because here the largest insurance company in the United States was in Durham. It's called North Carolina Mutual. They built the first black skyscraper in the history of the United States, and they sold the building. And after they sold the building, they went into receivership. You got to understand the earth is not making no more land. And if you want to add, in my professional opinion, you want to add insult to injury, the worst thing you could do is sell the land. What you really need to do is first ask, I don't know again, most of us don't have a tax strategy.
On the contract don't mean so.
You see what I'm saying? Most of us don't have a tax strategy. Now, and guess what? Even if you have it under contract, the Batts family or the estate or whoever can create another LLC and they can agree to give the new purchasing entity a 2-year balloon.
Okay, because that's what that's what I opened with. We need to reorganize this.
Yeah.
And we've created the new entity. So so the HD Enterprise, that's the new entity we created to be assigned, the radio station, the FCC licenses and all that.
Right. But now, okay, this is now I don't know who your attorney is yet. But what I'm saying is it's a shortcut on the financial side if you understand Uniform Commercial Code and taxes. Again, most of the time, we don't even have our folks that do Uniform Commercial Code. You ask most of our people who are in accounting or law, how can I use the Uniform Commercial Code to benefit my situation? And you know what they're going to say?
They don't know. They don't have it.
Right. You see what I'm saying? And so this is the same group of people who didn't do tax credits, didn't do top opportunity zones, didn't do bonds, didn't do structured finance. You understand what I'm saying? And so now what do you got to do? Insanity is if you keep doing what you've done. So now going back to what Tamisha was saying, to cut to the chase. Hey, what does your current plan look like? It'd be better for me to say, look, instead of us going back and forth with this discussion,
Yeah.
triage says before you can operate, you got to stabilize the patient. Stabilizing the patient asks the question, where are you bleeding? So if you're bleeding and you're hemorrhaging cash flow on the one hand, or you got a structural break in terms of you got a broken bone or something like that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Those are two types of things. So you got to look at the cash flow as a flow on that side, but then you got to look at the structure on the other side. And then the other thing is, do you have any outstanding tax implications? I don't know.
I think Tommy just took care of it.
No, well, I don't think he's not. I don't think
I
he's
don't
just talking
know.
about
I'm asking.
loans.
What I'm saying is, again, now if I'm looking out for Tommy, right? Keep in mind now, I'm a licensed insurance broker, so I'm a licensed risk manager as well since 1994. And even though Tommy is brilliant, it doesn't hurt to have give Tommy some backup.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so if I have budget and somebody like BDO says to me, look, it's going to cost you $10,000 for us to sanitize your situation. Even if you said you didn't have the $10,000, at least you know that BDO can sanitize my situation. You see what I'm saying? And so now BDO is taking what Tommy already had. You see what I'm saying? And then when you go to a bank or anybody else, you see what I mean? Then BDO has given you an opinion based on the foot groundwork that Tommy already did.
I got you.
You see what I'm saying? So the question becomes, how do you manage an attorney that charges $1,000 an hour?
So one bite at a time.
Well, no. You get the attorney that charges $200 an hour to do 80% of the work.
Yeah.
Then once that attorney has done 80% of the work, then you turn it over to the $1,000 attorney and let him be the auditor, because at the end of the day, his stamp is the one you need when you go to the bank.
So can I ask another question? Can we look up where the station, I want to say again, under contract does not mean sold. The offer accepted. If it ain't been accepted yet.
When does it expire is the question. The question we should ask, Tamisha, is when does their listing agreement expire?
Listing agreement?
Listing. When does the listing agreement expire?
No. We're supposed to close on the 11th.
What do you mean? Close on a sale?
Yes.
Oh, well, if they're already, you saying it's contract to be sold.
Yes.
Oh, well, then that's water under the bridge now, Tamisha.
So where is the new location? Can we look that up and see whether or not it's in the opportunity zone?
The new location is the location we looking to lease. We actually have several locations we're scouting out. Hold on, let me give you
So
the one
leasing wouldn't give us opportunity zone credit. That would go to the owner of the property.
Correct, because I mean, again, we're in, like you said, we're in triage. You know, we're trying to reorganize the debt, get the capital investment to move into a lease space.
Can I tell you what the good news is?
I'm all ears. I need it.
Do you know who bought Rolls Royce? The two entities that bought Rolls Royce.
Was Ford one of them?
Nope. It was Volkswagen and BMW.
Okay.
Volkswagen bought all of the engineering, right? BMW only got two things. They got the crown piece and the name. Did you hear what I'm saying?
I heard you. Yeah.
BMW got the crown piece, which is that Rolls Royce crown piece.
With the lady.
Right.
Yeah.
They got that, and they got the name.
Wow.
So now, if we treat this as a similar situation, because the land is already under contract, you know,
$50 million piece that we just $50 million. My feelings hurt.
Look. He said, "Listen, when you bring me something, I can only make a value proposition based on the facts." And what you're telling me is that the fact is that it's the land part is sold. Okay.
Right.
Now, the next question becomes is, how does the family look to exit from the intellectual property? So does the family look to sell the land and sell off into the sunset, or does the family look to set up a foundation that could work into some capacity on establishing a new location, Or is the family saying, look, we're going to sell the land, we're going to keep the radio station in terms of the licensing and so on and so forth.
Right.
And what does the family want? Because what the
Well,
family wants
well,
post land sale is going to govern how you proceed.
So let me tell you, the vision is that we've created this new entity, that we assign the license to. The family is have a percentage in the new entity that's now managing, but they're like the silent partners. So the family would get a percentage, and we just have to determine that, but anywhere from 15 to 20% that goes to the family of the new entity.
So you're talking about, okay, so who's the entity is going to be the general partner and the family is going to be a limited partner, or what are you saying?
However you want to word it, but they would share, they would have ownership into the new entity.
Oh, okay, so okay,
They
I
wouldn't
got
be
you.
managing. They wouldn't be managing the
That's
day to
fine.
day. Yeah,
That's fine. So basically, they have an annuitized residual.
correct.
Okay, so then so again, whether you lease in a space or however that intellectual property scenario works,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's going to be still going to go back to the numbers. So you're going to liquidate. You got to liquidate. You're looking at leasing. You still going to have when you sell. Are you selling and breaking even in terms of the debt? Or are you selling and you're making a profit? Are you selling? I mean,
Now
I need to know more of
the sale is going to fall way short of debt owed. So
Did you just say this was $50 million and the debt was $1 million?
No.
$1,000,006.
That was my number based on 100,000.
Square feet?
That was speculative. Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
so do you mind if I ask, what are you selling the property for?
$1 million.
How much?
$1 million.
What was the appraisal?
900 and something.
Well, see,
Well, the last time we looked at the valuation report,
yeah,
the
but see,
appraisal didn't include the radio station.
whoever, if I'm gonna tell you something,
Undervalued it.
if I had a way to get out of selling that property,
I would.
I would not sell it because the tax credit and the opportunity zone is worth 3 to 4 times the $1 million that you're selling it for.
Okay, let me be transparent with you on this one. What we've done is what Honda did 5 years ago, evidently, is that he had a mortgage on it. And basically what he did 5 years ago was enter into an agreement with the bank, and since I've been in it, the bank has ceased to honor that and sold it off to someone else, but he's basically paying interest on it.
Right, I understand.
And so that amount we've been paying, I guess, around $2,000 a month for all these years, and that amount is around $300,000.
Right.
So these people have basically called in mortgage. So my thing was to, okay, I need to pay it off or allow them to foreclose on it. So that's the position I was in. So mine was,
you should have done a Donald Trump. You should have found, because the thing
on us, shoulda, coulda, woulda. Let's go.
It's not too late though.
It ain't too late.
It's not too late, because what happens is, this is why it's not too late, because he entered into a fire sale under duress.
Got it.
Okay.
Can we fly down tomorrow?
Right. You entered into a fire sale under duress. Okay.
Yes.
And so, and because you're under duress, this is what you did. But it's a separate legal entity, and we don't use bankruptcy laws to our benefit. A bankruptcy is better than a foreclosure. You understand what I'm saying?
You suggesting we bankrupt it?
I would bankrupt it yesterday.
Okay.
Okay. Because you're going to come out. Everything about your situation, from an estate situation, from a debt situation, because
and if it's on the bankrupt, that freezes everything, doesn't it?
I can't see selling a property that you've had this long and still being in the hole.
Yep.
If I bankrupt the property,
Yep.
Then I flushed 80 to 90% of all that debt, and the bank can't do squat.
And the sharks
Now,
too.
right. So now,
Hey, everybody, I apologize. I got to jump, but I'll catch up.
Okay.
Hey, Kelly, I'm recording this.
All right. Thank y'all. And I'll get
Okay,
back to
Kelly.
y'all for sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care.
So with that, doctor, what's the next steps? You bankrupt. How
Well,
quick can we bankrupt and bring it to
you-
the sale on the 11th? Be
they
like,
can
"Oops, sorry."
they can bankrupt it tomorrow morning.
Okay.
All you had to do is go, and guess what? The
And what would be cash
bankruptcy for
flow for
the
what's
bank.
cash flow for
Well,
personnel?
here you go though. The people bankrupt stuff for a reorg. Because what I'm saying is, if you are 1.8 million in the hole, and you're gonna you're gonna pull your foundation out from under you. You're gonna sell it for 1 million. You still gonna be in the hole 800,000. Then that means they're gonna take that extra money and go against the rest of your estate.
Yeah.
That's no. The best thing for you to do is nip it in the bud right now. Is to say, look, for me to preserve the rest of the assets from the Bats family. You understand what I'm saying? I don't want the Bats family to fall on the grenade. Okay.
Right.
You go ahead and bankrupt it immediately, and then let the bankruptcy, because the bankruptcy attorney gonna get his money. He not worried. The bankruptcy attorney is not gonna worry about. A bankruptcy attorney make money like you got hit by a car, right? And he like, I ain't worried about that. I'm gonna get my money. So the bankruptcy attorney is not worried about being paid. So I'm gonna find the best bankruptcy attorney. I'm gonna let him know that the principal, Mr. Batts, has been elderly. He's going through X, Y, and Z. Brother Tommy Batts has done the best job he could do in terms of pinch hitting to come in and rescue the family. I'm gonna say that the family was in some type of emotional stress, duress. You
They
understand what I
are.
mean?
Yeah.
They are. It's not true.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
They can't
what I'm
make no
gonna do,
decisions right now.
right. So then the first thing you do is triage. Then, because guess what? When you file the bankruptcy, don't nobody have to make no more payments. Until the agreement and all of the structure is done, you immediately take all the creditors and immediately put them on pause. And guess what? It actually helps your credit more than hurt your credit.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? It helps the whole Bats family all the way around. It helps the estate. It helps medical bills. It helps
Current management.
everything.
Current
Everything.
management. Yeah.
You understand? Everything. And then if you got old bills, because this is the thing, sometimes it's a little more tricky with real estate, but you can absolve yourself almost all of the interest versus the principal. And what your complaint to me is, we've been paying a lot on the interest only. I feel that. But on the other side is that you got these old Nielsen bills and these other bills and these other bills. Guess what? Bankruptcy just killed all that. So now
Fresh
you just
start.
went to,
And can we put an equity crowdfund together then while we doing the research?
and why that's happening, right?
That's what I'm here for. That's me.
Your other organization. So you're running
Parallel.
in sequence and parallel, and then you're running it by phase. You see what I'm saying? So
So
instead
Jeffrey, Tommy, hold on. That's a lot because when Dr. comes, he gives a lot. Tommy, what are you feeling about what he's talked about? What are you feeling, Jeffrey? What are you feeling? Tommy, you gonna go first. How does it sound to you?
Huntley is basically property rich and cash poor.
I know.
He's got
I'm with you.
he's got that property, he's got other properties, this kind of thing. Filing bankruptcy, how does that basically deal with the properties he's got with those properties? The properties he's got could probably pay off all his debts.
Yeah, I know, but you don't want to do that. What your goal is to preserve equity.
No, I'm saying how do the bankruptcy laws look at that kind of thing?
This is what, brother. Here you go.
Stop you from praying creditors is what he just said.
Here you go. I'm gonna say to you that if I was you, the first thing I would do tomorrow morning or tonight, because the bankruptcy people are open 24/7. I'm not an attorney. I'm a business consultant. You don't lose anything consulting with a bankruptcy attorney. I would make that my first phone call. I would be as transparent as possible. I would tell them what I want. First of all, the radio station is it owned by him personally, or is it owned by a separate entity?
It's on broadcast. It's owned by Broadcast One, which is an LLC.
Right. So now, that's a firewall that you have. Okay. And the other benefit that you have is that you don't want nobody to pierce the corporate veil.
Okay. Now, I think Broadcast One, the radio station is owned by Broadcast One. I think the property is owned by Hunter.
So the property is owned by him personally.
Right.
So guess what? That's even better. Because now you talking about hospital bills, any kind of bill that he has holistically. Then they're going to organize it based on priority in terms of what the family needs. And then you determine what gets sacrificed. You understand what I'm saying? You don't never let them, don't let, see what, in this brother with the greatest amount of love, honor, and appreciation and respect, I'm saying to you that the best position for you based on what I hear you saying right now, for your debt yesterday, your situation today, and the inheritors in the future. Okay? And then you got another organization. It's going to put you in the strongest financial position. And actually, if I'm a banker, it's going to put you in the highest level of respect. Because a foreclosure and a fire sale is worse than a bankruptcy. Because it makes no reason for you to sell an asset for $1 million and have a, what'd you say the debt was, Jeffrey?
1.6 million.
You see what I'm saying? Look, do that math for me. I'm going to terminate. What I'm doing is I'm going to pull the foundation out from under me. And $1 million, I'm going to throw it to the fire, and I'm still going to owe $600,000. And on what day does that make sense to you?
Right. I mean, we hear what you're saying. Again, this is why we're talking to you now. It's
right.
triage.
Right. This,
Doctor,
I'm talking to you like family.
They get it. They get it. They get it, Doctor. They get it. They get it. We all get it. We all
family. Because I don't want nobody messing with y'all.
Can you? Okay, this is what I'm hearing. This is what I'm hearing. We get it. So what we gonna do is what they want to do. Mr. Tommy, tell me based on what you've heard today.
That's the bottom line.
Now that you know that the land is what's going to bring in the investors.
Right.
The land is what's you an upside deal right now, and that possibly a bankruptcy could hold everything off for a second. What do you need to hear, or what concerns you have to maybe implement this course of action?
Right.
So that maybe we can look at, and Dr. knows investors too. You know people that invest. So let me go ahead and put that in there too.
Before Tommy speaks, and Tommy can speak on this further when he speaks. For the past 5 years, we have had, people who have come in. And again, Doctor, with all respect, you have made the most sense of all the people who have come in with their grand plans, with their big talk, with this money they're going to invest. And when it comes time to cut a check, they ghost us. No one has talked to us the way you have talked to us. And again, we have put things off with these developers are going to do this Woody Ford going to do that. And we looking at 1.6. So I ultimately it's Tommy's decision at this point, because Tommy is overseeing Huntley. I know he's always been respectful of Huntley and trying to, the whole goal is, as always, to make sure that Huntley was comfortable, Mr. Batch was comfortable at the end of the day.
The other thing, Tommy.
Hold on. I want to throw something in too. And the staffers, like they sent me in on this, and they have come together. I think that putting the for sale sign up really let them understand that something had to be done a little bit more. So I think you got a little bit more foot soldiers than what you've had in the past to be able to rally and come behind to give you some more support.
Right.
I want to throw that in as well. You got some some, I want to say, uncertified human resources coming your way that you're not going to have to put on payroll because they want to make sure that WEUP is around in the 21st century strong. So I just want to make sure that
But Tommy,
is there.
Tommy, this is the bottom line. I don't need you fighting. We need to fight for you and with you. Okay? I respect the fact that if you stretched hard enough, you could probably be my dad. You understand what I'm saying? And my dad has gone to be with the Lord. And it takes a village to raise a family. You know, and I honor you and I appreciate you. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you have fought the good fight. But the reality is this. Magic Johnson is a great basketball player, and so is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Great basketball players. Even myself, I'm not that great of a basketball player, but I wouldn't go out up against LeBron James or any of those guys that been in the league recently. And what we have to do is we have to take men and women like us, and we have to say, okay, dad, uncle, we understand where you got this ball where it at. See, when you needed somebody to be your offensive line, you didn't have them. And what the brother over here is saying is that people came to you, it's because they came as sharks. You know what I'm saying? And part of it is not their fault. It's just that at a certain caliber, brother Jeffrey, we just didn't have access. I'm just fortunate because I'm an anomaly. You know what I'm saying? Tamisha's an anomaly. But we are here now. And so even if they paid you some earnest money, even if they gave you some earnest money, the earnest money in a bankruptcy is dischargeable. You could have a structured arrangement on the earnest money. Would you say?
We don't have it. We don't have it.
No earnest money?
No.
No.
So how you feeling, Mr. Tommy Batts? What this sounding like to you?
Like I've been through this 100 times.
Well, hold up. Let me ask you this. You said 100 times. Did you talk to him?
He said, let him finish, doctor. Let him finish.
You don't really, you don't know how frustrating this is for me.
I know. Yes, sir. I'm listening.
I have been down this road for 5 years, but I thought it was going to be 5 months. I have gone out and I've tried to bring in people to aid as far as the radio station is concerned, because I know that wasn't my cup of tea. So mine is management, but it's not that kind. And so, I basically, like Jeff said, we accumulated more debt trying to service the station. Huntley's invested. I've invested more of Huntley's money in trying to save the station. But it's been a situation where even right now, Jeff talked about his personal money. I've spent my money as far as this is concerned. I didn't sign off this. My thing was that my main goal was to come in, divest Huntley of his assets, all except the insurance agency. That was his namesake, and I wanted him to maintain that. But I wanted him to divest him of all of his assets and make him comfortable for the rest of his life. That was my only goal. I wasn't interested. One thing I did when I contacted Jeff and through a mutual friend of ours, I wanted the station to stay community focused. I wanted to be Black owned. That was my goal as far as that was concerned. I could have gone to Cumulus or somebody else and said right away and says, hey, you want it, you can have it. Probably been done with 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Left me a lot of headaches. My hair wouldn't be as gray as it is now. I'd probably been a whole lot better off mentally. I am totally frustrated. My thing is that this past week, Jeff can tell you, I had to go and make sure I had used my money to pay property taxes for all of Hunter's properties and this kind of thing, because we don't have the funds. So sure, I could probably go and talk to a bankruptcy attorney and say, okay, how we can do that? But still, between that, filing bankruptcy and making sure that I've got funds to operate the radio station for the next whatever period of time. I was at, I don't feel any, I'm not getting the soft and fuzzy feeling as to how that just goes away. And that's frustrating to me because sooner or later my wife's gonna say, why are we investing in all this and we're not getting it? Because you're for real. This has been benevolence to the nth degree as far as I'm concerned. I've had customers that I couldn't even service myself because I was busy dealing with Honey Batts and Associates and WP Radio. So my thing is I've lost money, period, from my standpoint, because I couldn't even serve my own clients. So that's where I am. I'm at a total frustration. I told this Jeff 2 weeks ago that I'm burned out. I'm just totally burned out. The little hand that I do have is about to leave. It's just too much for me at my age to continue down this road. And so my thing was, surely I was under duress when I said, okay, I got to sell this property right quick, because the guy basically sent me a thing, and I shared it with Jeff, and he says, hey, we can't do the interest only anymore. We're gonna, you said you're gonna sell a property or something and get some money to pay it off. I've got some property over in Decatur that's just sitting land. I've been trying to sell that. Been trying to sell that thing for 4 years. Hadn't been able to even get 75% of it.
Yeah.
Of money on it.
44 acres. Yeah.
Worth $770,000. Can't get anything on. Can't even get a bite. So I'm totally frustrated.
Because of your testimony right there, you are a senior. You have carried more than your lion's share of responsibility. You understand what I mean?
Sure.
And your quickest, easiest, long-term solution that's not going to cost you no money, okay, is to talk to that attorney tomorrow, because it's not going to cost you nothing but a little bit more time. And I promise you, after you talk to him, overnight, at least 50% of your stress going to go away. It's going to give you time to breathe. It's going to give you time to focus. You're going to feel less stressed. You're going to transfer that to that attorney. You see what I mean? And allow them to communicate with you and for you in terms of what's best for your family. Because at this point, it ain't even about the radio station. It's about your health. It's about your health. It's about your peace of mind. It's about your family. It's about your brother or uncle, Hundley Batts, and that estate. And so the very first thing I'm saying to you is peace of mind is everything.
Yep.
And if we don't have peace of mind, we don't have nothing.
That's right.
And I heard what you said, and for a man of your stamina, a man of your profession, and a man of your age, there's no judge in the world, when he hears you say what you just said to me, is going to deny you this constitutional right. And the word says you have not because you ask not. So it don't, is it Matthew 7:7, seek, ask, and knock. So all I'm saying to you, Uncle Tommy, all I'm saying to you is take, exhale, inhale, find out who.
Oh, I do that every time.
Yeah, find out.
And let me kind of add to this.
Go ahead, brother.
And I'm gonna try to do this without getting emotional.
Okay.
Because I feel bad that we still fighting after 5 years. When Tommy brought me on, I was hoping by this time, I've already done sent him off to the sunset, and we run. Hell, my plan was I done left what I was doing so I can focus on this full time. In the beginning, my dad is gone on. Tommy got a chance. My family is from that part of Alabama. So, I introduced Tommy to my dad. And they found out they had a mutual friend, and they got to talking, and then since then, my dad has passed on. So I have a certain level of connection to the Batch family, to the
Right.
Huntsville area, because again, that's my family.
Here you go. When you want to take out a community, if you're in the military, the first thing you take out is communications. You know, and we
Steve Murray
need,
gave us that piece the last
yeah,
time we were
yeah,
there.
that's what he told us. Right.
Mhm.
And we need the Bats family to be strong. And the thing about it is, again, Uncle Tommy, if you will, I understand exactly what you're saying. If I could be there to help you, I would be there. But if you want the fastest way between now and whatever, because there's nothing stopping you. If you filed a bankruptcy, you can still sell the property. But if you filed a bankruptcy and you sell the property, then all that other debt, you would discharge it favorably. You know, it, you understand what I'm saying?
And you're
I mean,
going into you're going into it knowing that it's an opportunity,
right,
or you're
right,
going into it knowing that this is worth this, and we're
right,
not taking $1 million. We need
right.
10.
Right, right. And we can, and I, you know, I'm not saying something to you that I think, I'm telling you something I know. Okay. And again, I'm not an attorney,
Right.
but the attorney will put the kibosh on everything. Okay. And you will breathe easier, and you will have somebody that's fighting for you. Because a lot of times what happens in our community is we get stuck in playing defense. And what you really need to do right now is your attorney gonna play offense. What he gonna say, don't hit me no more. Now your attorney's gonna hit the creditor for you. You understand what I'm saying? You don't need to sit back here and be like, oh. You need the attorney to start swinging. And so for me, I'm gonna talk for a little while, but I don't believe in defense. I believe in offense. And for me, if it's somebody in my family, my father was a Navy SEAL. Okay, do I need to say anything else?
No.
I'm a mild-mannered dude. I really am. I really am. But don't get it twisted. Ain't no slow leaks over here. Okay. And so what I'm simply saying is, sir, you know, your first goal is for me
You can
is
at
your
least be
peace of mind.
compensated the money you
Right.
put into
Right.
that you put into it. So at least you want to come out
Right.
the deal with the least compensation that you have spent.
But
And
not only that, though, what I'm saying is, for a man to make the sacrifices that he's made,
over 5 years, yeah.
I don't want your sacrifice to be in vain. And just strictly mathematical, taking all personality out of it, $1 million versus $1.6 million leaves 600,000 in the hole. And if those creditors got you on that, then they're gonna try to take that 600,000 and hem you up on something else.
Yep.
And I'm simply saying, cut to the chase. If I gotta do this, I'm gonna do this. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And then, you know, like you said, then you walk away. You maintain the license. If you had to sell the property, you sold the property, but you also discharged all of the debt. So after this, don't F with me no more. I'm done with y'all.
Okay.
And
So,
they're not going to expect
so I know
that
you're not. I know you're not an attorney, but you say you brought up the thing of selling property.
Sir?
You brought up a filing the bankruptcy, but selling the property.
No, what I'm saying,
Don't they on a situation like that, don't they reach into your cash kind of a thing?
They
Or
can
proceeds
manage
from it?
right, but they manage it on your behalf. Okay. What I'm simply saying is, let's just look at it as simple profit and loss. At a bankruptcy, you're gonna profit. At a fire sale, you're gonna lose.
Sure.
And I can't put it no simpler than that. Okay.
Yeah, because the thing is that I guess with the radio station, basically the building is dilapidated. The employees have even complained about the fact that they didn't want to be there. So I think
we can fix that.
I think Jeff wants to. I think that's what.
Yeah,
Jeff,
guess what?
Jeff,
Jeff,
looking for a new start.
Yeah.
Jeff,
I was part
Jeff,
of the punches
Jeff.
that Doctor was talking about earlier. Them the punches
Jeff.
that's coming from the staff.
Yes, sir,
Jeff.
doctor.
You remember something called 100% depreciated asset,
Mm-hmm.
which means that I'm going back to the tax strategy. Real estate developers bulldoze stuff and start from scratch every day. Do you realize you could bulldoze that site, put a double wide trailer on it, lock it down? I seen construction trailers at 5,000 square feet. Do you realize in 5,000 square feet, what the biggest that space is, that I can give you a practical brand new space to operate while the other place is being demoed? And if it was appraised at $1 million, then I just offset the entire, and I'm going back to the tax strategy. You understand what I'm saying? And guess what? How long does it take me to bulldoze it to the, I don't even if I didn't bulldoze it, you have enough land to where somebody can put a 5,000 square foot building that can set it up and have it ready in less than 30 days. Because the permitting process is different for a temporary facility than it is for a permanent fixture. You understand what I'm saying?
We even had a developer draw a plan for a 5-story mix. Remember that, Tommy?
Oh yeah.
And he had a 5-story mixed-use office building, a pretty presentation. And when it came time
he's not. Listen to me, sir. Sir, he's not. He's not us. I can't talk about that developer.
I got you.
I'm thanking you. I thank you for the one thing you said. You said, Dr. Alanubia, in 5 years, we have talked to a lot of people, and you made the most sense out of anybody.
Right.
Now, let me ask you a question. Do you stand by that statement?
100%.
Okay. So now, based on you saying 100%, I call that a mic drop moment. Because after that, I don't have nothing else to say.
Are we open to helping? Are we open to a equity crowdfund campaign?
Well, hold on, Tamisha, can't put the cart before the horse.
Okay, I'm just
okay. No, none of okay. Again, I
they
cannot.
need cash flow. I mean,
stop. No, that's
okay,
not what you need right now.
Okay, I'm just saying.
No.
We in triage. We still
you need triage.
Right.
If I got a patient that's bleeding, my first rule is not to operate. My first rule is to stop the bleeding.
Got it.
And so you're bleeding, and it looks externally, you see a bullet wound, and you don't see no blood, and you think it ain't bleeding, but the bleeding is internal. You understand what I'm saying? So in this particular case, my man is saying, listen, bro, I'm stressed out. I don't want no more stress. I don't want to spend no more money. I need to be done with this headache. And so if he is my father, I'm going to say to him, Dad, if you want to be done with this headache, okay, if you're going to do it the smart way. The smart way is file a bankruptcy. It's your best option, okay? Because that immediately, all the creditors cannot call him no more. That's first, okay? You hear me? You hear me, Jeffrey?
Uh-huh.
No creditor can blow up Tommy's phone, okay? Now, everybody got to go through the attorney. Then the attorney puts together a structured settlement. You understand what I'm saying? That gives you time to protect the assets in the existing portfolio so you don't have collateral damage. Okay? It's a modular approach. So if I got a portfolio and it has 4 parts, then even if quadrant 1 goes down, then quadrant 2, 3, and 4 is not affected.
Would Mr. Batts, would Huntley be included in that too?
Absolutely. Because this is what you told me. You told me you have a hybrid situation. Your hybrid situation is you got an entity that owns the radio station to the left, and you got a man who owns the land to the right. And I'm assuming, is it a 1-member LLC or is it a 2-member LLC?
It was 2 before his wife passed. So
right. So now it's only 1. So now in a 1-member LLC, it's easiest to pierce the corporate veil in a 1-member LLC than it is a multiple-member LLC.
Right.
And if attorney is worth his salt, I'm not going to have them pierce the corporate veil, which is to say, I'm gonna take your firewall away, Mr. Huntley, Mr. Batts. So I'm not only going to make you sell the radio station, but I'm going to destroy the firewall, and then I'm going to come after your personal assets. The devil is a lie. Damn all that. I don't play like that. Excuse me, sir.
Not a
I
problem.
don't rock like that. I mean, look at me now. Have you ever seen a thug with a PhD?
I can attest. He told the truth.
Okay, don't play. Don't let nobody take you for granted. That's all I got to say.
Well, Tommy, I'm gonna support you whatever decision you make.
Yeah, we're gonna talk, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm gonna ride with you. I'm gonna ride with you.
Yeah.
I'm standing on the Tommy Bats rock. So I'm gonna ride with Tommy, Mr. Bats, in whichever direction they want to move.
Do me a favor, sir. Just have a conversation with, look around, find an attorney that specializes in commercial, not one of the ones that's, residential, so to speak. It's gonna be you know what? You're gonna say, Brother Alanubia, son, nephew, you're gonna have your hallelujah moment. Courtesy of Mr. Misha Thomas and Mr. Jeffrey Havis.
Well,
and it was the Kelly person that left.
Yeah, Kelly. Scott.
My thing is this: it's too hard. Y'all have a legacy, and when you pick a fight with one of us, sometimes in families we have our disagreements, but there's sometimes what you got to do is you got to set aside a disagreement for the bigger picture. You understand what I'm saying? And right now, the reality is that y'all are rallying the troops to save a legacy, an icon in our community. And if the icon needs help, then people need to come to the rescue. There's nothing else I can say. So I'm asking you at minimum, Uncle Tommy,
Right.
talk to an attorney that specializes in bankruptcy.
I'll do that. Yeah.
Because you're not, and he's not going to charge you.
Right.
Hey, Tommy, do you want me to ask Claude if he knows anybody? My cousin is Chief Justice of the county.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be good.
But Jeffrey, sir.
Yes, sir.
This is where I want to speak to you sincerely. In this situation, you need a surgeon. You don't need a general practitioner. Okay? I just want you. I want us to be here. Okay.
Can you go to that appointment with Tommy? Make sure that
Well, Tommy's not in town. But look, Tommy knows. I'll get in the car. It's literally 3 hours from my front door to the radio station.
Well, we need to keep black radio stations, and we need to keep black land. We need to own and control. The solution is here. If you want it, I understand. Again, Tommy, I heard you. I heard you about, I don't want no more stress. I'm getting older. I've gone beyond my beyond.
I was just a kid when I started this.
Right.
He didn't have a single gray hair. Hey, my daddy was alive when we started this.
That's right.
them 5 years like dog years, huh? I'm like,
it was straight dog years. In fact,
Tamisha knows I didn't have this much gray hair.
Yeah. We hear you.
I didn't used to be this skinny.
Look. Hey, look. I think I got a little more platinum since you seen me last, sir.
I see. God, I know it. I'm going like the beard and all. I'm like, who's this? Oh God.
So next steps is I'm hearing that there's probably going to be a phone call to a bankruptcy attorney.
Yeah, that's the best thing.
Mr. Jeffrey, can you send me this document, this recording, so that I can send it to the other members so that they can understand what's happening to their beloved WEUP. If that's okay.
Okay, doctor, I'm gonna take control back.
Yes, sir. I salute you. Help yourself.
And then, Mr. Tom, if you want to circle back to us, after you have that conversation.
Yeah.
So that you can see, kind of what they've said. We gladly to, take the time from our schedules. Doctor, am I speaking for you too much?
No. Listen. This is how I was raised. So I want you to know I was bred for moments like this. I'm the cat. If you play chicken, I'm gonna hit you head on because I'm not gonna get off the road. And I'm talking from experience. I used to think I was Evil Knievel. I'm not Evil Knievel no more. You know what I'm saying? But if we have to, and this intergenerational thing is really serious, you know, and we need to do a better job, and we need to do it while we're breathing. So, you
Yeah.
know, this is a priority, and uh, to me, you know, some people say it's business, but it's a difference when the business just became personal.
Yeah,
We don't
that's
need
true.
nobody to. We don't need nobody to mess with the legacy of the family. And you know, and if you have to go out on your own terms. Do not let don't let the situation define the terms. Because all of us, you know, I'm gonna leave when I leave, but when I leave, it's gonna be on my terms. And the same thing with you, with all of us. Let's be on our own terms.
Yeah, because Mr. Bass was selling the board with Alan Greenspan, you know, Chamber, you know, all of
Yeah.
that. You know,
Yeah.
we ain't trying to let that go. They will not have his assets
Right.
in
Right.
court. They
Right.
will not. They
Yeah,
they
that's not
won't
gonna
do
happen.
that. We
Yeah,
ain't
no,
doing
no,
that
no. Right.
because somebody's sitting up plotting and planning. No,
Right.
no, we're
Right.
not doing that.
That's right. You know what I'm saying? And
Taught me better. Taught
it,
and we bringing in resources.
yeah. So I mean, the thing is, the call has been made, the SOS has been received, and if I
We
can add
ready.
an
We
appreciation
ready. We ready.
to what brother Jeffrey Havis said again, brother, if we make sense, you know, then there ain't never really nothing to talk about. It's about that action, boss. And for me, I can talk, uh, but I was pulling triggers at 4.
Okay, doctor, we start with the gun analogy, and he is not making it up. We're going to circle back,
Let's
Tommy.
do this.
Give us
Let's do
some
this. Let's
time.
do this.
You
Let's
call
do
the
this.
attorney. You let us know what you need. We are just phone calls, text messages
Okay.
away, and there we go.
Okay, all
appreciate
right.
it. I've
Hey,
got a dinner appointment
okay,
at
Tommy,
6:30,
and
so I'm
Tommy,
about to run out.
I just sent the
That
message
was
to Claude.
metaphorical, Miss Thomas McLean.
Okay.
Tommy, did you hear me? I sent the message out to Claude to give me a
Okay.
call.
Okay, and I'll give you a call a little later right after my dinner appointment. I'll give you a call.
That's fine. I'll be sitting up.
Okay.
I appreciate you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Can I get a salute?
I'm putting my hand on my heart.
There you go. I'm right behind you.
And Mr.
Okay,
Jeffrey,
Tamisha, you take
thank
care.
you. Yes, and is it Havis?
It's
Mr. Havis?
Havis. It's like
Havis.
Davis, but with an H.
Hey, okay, Havis. Ms. Havis, when can I expect that link from you from Zoom?
I'm gonna try to do that right now when we get off.
All right. Well, we appreciate you, and like I said, we're just a phone call, email away.
Okay,
All right,
you take care.
Y'all have a
Thank you.
blessed
See you,
day.
Doc.
Hey, be encouraged. Yes, sir.
We
Okay.
got it.
All right. Take care. Good night.
Bye-bye.